Welcome to Conscious Profits Unfiltered. This is your host, Sebastian Nam.
Fam. All right. Today's episode is truly special as it was the very first episode recorded in human form live with my guest, Stefan Hoffman, in his home in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. So if you're listening to this on audio format and you have the chance to check it out on YouTube instead, do it. You can do that right on sebastiannam.com as well. Regardless, you'll absolutely be intrigued by everything we discussed with the sounds of the beautiful birds in the background. Stefan Hoffman is a special human. And let me just start by saying that he had just done ayahuasca the night before, and he shares that journey with us. He's a multi-disciplinary artist and visual storyteller. His passion is in conscious creation. He has led design, creative, tech, and product launches for both startups and large corporations, including Rythmia, RLOVE, The Honest Company working alongside Jessica Alba, Salesforce, and AOL. He has founded both tech and product companies, including Openly Human, Klova, Metastory, and Hipster, which was acquired by AOL. He specializes in branding, app and web design, UI, UX, photography, videography, motion graphics, and music. You guys know that I own marketing agencies, and I have legit worked with hundreds of creatives. I have never met someone who is so effing talented in so many different creative skills. And if for some reason you needed an extra reason to stay with us through the end, Stefan performs for us with a little handpan session, aka he plays the UFO drum for us, and it was epic. This episode is fire, people. Enjoy the show. Steph, man, this is our very first episode being recorded in real human life form.
Yes, sir.
As opposed to, like a video call or Zoom call.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to have you on. Welcome to the show, Steph.
Beautiful. Welcome, man. And I'm just so happy that you're here. And you were one of my good friends in LA, and I moved to Costa Rica. Now we're enjoying
So this is
the nature.
This is Steph's home. This is your land right here.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, we're shooting it right at my spot here.
Love it. I love it, man. Well, I want to start right with a question. I want to ask you a question right away because some people have Thirsty Thursdays, and then some people do Taco Tuesdays, and then there's Ayahuasca Wednesdays.
Ayahuasca Wednesdays. I like the alliteration too.
You like that? Yeah. So before we get into conscious business talk and talking about some of the companies you've been involved with, like The Honest Company and Openly Human and Rythmia, what came through in last night's ayahuasca journey?
Every journey I've had about 60 or 70 ayahuasca journeys at this point, and sometimes people get the question of why do you keep on going back to it? Like, aren't you healed, or didn't you get enough? There's always something there. Every time you sit down with the medicine, you're at a different phase in your life. You have different issues that you're dealing with, different traumas that might arise, and really you're exploring your consciousness. It's infinite, so there's many places to go. And last night in particular, I'm one of the musiqueros, so I play with the
Which is a musician.
A musician, yeah, and we play medicine music in ayahuasca ceremonies. I play the piano and handpan. We also have a flute player, this guy Nestor, amazing, percussionist William, Shane on guitar, Ronnie on guitar, and it's just we have a beautiful bond there amongst the musicians. And the most beautiful thing about it for me, and what I get every time is, you drink the medicine, the people there are drinking the medicine as well, and you're connecting at that energy, you're connecting at that level, and it channels through you. The music just comes through you. So whatever you're feeling at that time channels through you. You're sending it out in this beautiful vibration that these other people feel very deeply, and you can guide their experience. And there's really nothing like it. I've become a better musician from doing plant medicine and playing in that state of consciousness. I've gained a lot of confidence. Just, man, a little over a year ago, I was super shy to play in front of anybody. Super shy.
Yeah.
I would just get super nervous and thought I wasn't good enough, all these things.
Yeah.
And just being in that state, that was my practice with it. I was like, I want to build my confidence around expressing myself creatively and not being ashamed of it, and just really stepping into that truth. And that's what it really helped me to do. And so I feel like I've become a better musician, built up the confidence, like I said, and you just flow with it, and it's always a recalibration every week too. So if you feel a little bit like you're off your path, a little bit of misalignment, just puts you right back there, you know, and gets you focused again.
Has it given you confidence in other areas of your life as well?
Yeah, I would say in my personal life, social life, of just being myself and not being afraid to be myself. Even if that is, I tend to be more quiet on the quiet side, and I'm okay with that now.
Yeah.
I used to be like, oh, I wish I was more social. I wish I could talk like this and do this. I'm like, no, you know, I feel our words are almost powerful weapons, and I often like to engage in conversation. I feel it's necessary. I don't like to fill up the space with words a lot of the times. And it's just helped me like really embody that and be okay with that.
Yeah. So anything specific that came through last night? Like if for anybody that has never done it, like what it, you know, they don't, no idea. I've never done it, right? So what is that like? How does it start? How does it end? Is there something you can describe? It's hard to describe with words, I imagine.
It's really hard to describe with words. There's not really words for it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to a place where there aren't words that can really, you don't know what these things are. It could be higher dimensions and things that you're seeing in higher dimensions. And you just can't describe it. It's a lot of feeling stuff for me. A lot of my ceremonies are around feeling. Last night in particular, when we were talking earlier, is the sacredness of my work and my practice and what I use to make that happen. I create a lot digitally. So my computer, as you brought up, that my computer has been my most important object in my life to really create my art and do my designs and all that kind of stuff. And I set up my piano. I have my computer there in the Maloka, and I was like wiping off my computer, and I felt gratitude for it, this machine.
Yeah.
But and then at that moment, I was like, this is a sacred object. Because we think of sacred objects as maybe it's quartz, maybe it's a necklace, maybe it's a sage, things like that.
Yeah.
And my computer, I felt like this sacred connection to it. And that like shift in that mindset of the tools I use, regardless if they're digital, if they're from the earth, whatever it is, treating them with that honor and respect. And I feel that really comes out in the energy of my work as well. And every time since doing medicine, what it has taught me is to, whatever you're designing, whatever you're creating, whatever you're sitting down and doing, do it to the best of your ability. And in my case, since it's a lot of design, I always think I'm going to make an amazing piece of art. This is going to move someone. This is really going to inspire someone for other things. And
no matter what that is, whether it could be something simple, a simple task that you're doing, a simple creative task.
No matter what it is, if it's designing a paid ad, doing a brand guide, creating a video, even something more artistic like writing music, I just go in with that same mindset of like, this is a sacred space I'm visiting to channel this creativity. I'm reaching from source. It's running through me to push this out. And that's going through my mind the whole time I'm doing it.
And the only way to really truly do it with that type of intention is with lots of presence. You need like the maximum amount of presence you can have to be able to channel that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that a maximum amount of presence, flow state. To get into that flow state, you really just need to put the blinders on and just get super focused.
Love that, man. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Of course. Yeah.
That's cool. And what did we just eat before we started doing the show?
Well, I wanted to say one more thing about plant medicine. If you guys are looking for a deep healing, a transformation, to work through traumas, I know it's been a challenging past year for a lot of people. I found ayahuasca is such a healing plant. It's from nature. It's this, as Sarah the shaman says, it's this concentrated drop of nature that we're infusing in our bodies to connect the physical and spiritual worlds. And it helps on so many different levels.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it, yeah.
We've known each other for several years now. We you know, stoked that we got to share the same workspace together.
Yes.
We work in the same place, really super dope creative space in LA. And we've had a lot of great conversations. And, you know, something that has come up, I remember talking about ayahuasca, because I was always very inquisitive and asking you questions, is a lot of things come up, right? And so, and you've admitted to the fact that it's not necessarily a shortcut to having done the work. It's like, it's exposing things that then you need to take action on and continue to do the work on the things that were exposed, as opposed to just like, oh, it's just a fix. For somebody thinking, oh, I'll just take some ayahuasca and my life is fixed.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's only half of it.
Yeah.
The other half is the integration.
Yeah.
So taking that wisdom and everything you received from your experience and integrating that into your life.
Yeah.
And that can be the most challenging part. I also think it is a shortcut. It's like a shortcut to happiness. It's not a bypass. You're not bypassing your issues. You're taking them head on, but just in a more direct way.
Got it.
So that's why it can be challenging for a lot of people. It can bring up past traumas, stuff from your childhood, stuff from years 0 to 5.
Yeah.
And you work through it, you relive it. I think it's why it's so challenging for people, because it also, your ego dissolves a bit, and it's a lot of surrender and trust to the medicine that she's going to work through you and show you the things that you need to see.
Yeah. Speaking of that, is that going back to you growing up, did that do that for you? Did it bring up a lot of things? I know you've had a rough growing up, and that's probably shaped who you are today.
Yeah, completely. And I'm very grateful for all the experiences I went through.
Yeah.
And the most humbling thing to me, and I always say this with friends when I'm talking to them, I was like, you know what's cool, man? Like, everything had to happen in our life just the way it did, just for us to be sitting here right now.
Yeah.
If anything happened differently, we wouldn't be sitting here and enjoying nature, doing a podcast.
Absolutely. Butterfly effect is real, man.
It's so real.
Yeah.
So like everything matters, and my childhood in particular, we grew up really poor. We were on food stamps, Section 8, every government program you can think of. My dad left when I was 5, and he wasn't really in the picture. And it was just my mom trying to raise 3 kids, and she was doing the best that she could with what she knew how to do. That's one thing that plant medicine and this more spiritual path I'm on has really taught me, is that empathy for my parents and their understanding that whatever they're going through, they might have got handed to them from their parents or their parents' parents.
Yeah.
So when you're healing yourself, you're also healing your lineage. And it's traumas you're working through for the future of your generation in your lineage.
Yeah, I mean, the more you're healing, you're going to pass that on.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And just, living in poverty and knowing what it's like to be at zero and not having that safety net. My mom had to work, and she was in a band, she was playing gigs and stuff. So me, my brother, and my sister were on our alone a lot.
Yeah.
I was being left at home alone since the age of 4. Yeah, and so I really felt like I'm just raising myself.
Crazy.
I'm on my own, and I never had much sadness as a kid. It didn't hit me like, oh, this is strange or something like that. It only happened when I became a teenager. I was really like, hey, maybe this could be better or something.
Interesting.
But so I developed this independence. I could just do things on my own and be okay with it. So as an adult, what that translated into in my professional path was just learn it, dive in. If you have a vision, learn the tools and skills necessary to make that vision happen. And I think it's one of the most rewarding experiences for me as a creative is you have this blank canvas, whether it's an empty Photoshop file or an actual canvas or a new Ableton file, whatever it is, whatever you're making, and to start from zero, and then you just have this finished product, and you look at it, you listen to it, other people react to it. That's such a fun thing for me. But yeah, I took that life experience of it being hard, but it gave me this massive independence. So I almost became fearless to be an entrepreneur, to really pursue my goals. Even if I had like a cushy job, well paid, I wouldn't stay there long. In my 20s, I'd be like, no, I have this fire inside, and I feel like I want to go and do my own thing. And along the way, I picked up web design because I needed a website. I didn't have the budget to
You were in a band first, though.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to kind of jump in a few levels.
Yeah,
here.
I just want to, What kind of music were you playing?
Yeah, so I was in a band, since I was like 16 actually.
Yeah.
And it was local bands. We weren't too big. 2006 we played Warped Tour, which was...
That's sick, bro!
It was cool, yeah.
Dude, I think I may have
and
been
as,
at 2006 Warped
as like
Tour.
a pop punk band, that's like the pinnacle.
Yeah, dude.
We were just on a few dates and...
Wait, I legit may have been at 2006 Warped Tour. I'm not even kidding you. Yeah,
Really?
because we were 20.
Yeah.
Because we're the same age.
Yeah.
I could have been there.
And
that is so funny.
In a
I'm not gonna find
the
out.
band needs stickers, merch,
Oh, yeah.
a website.
It's a business.
Yeah, MySpace layouts at that time.
Yeah.
So actually, that's where I got all my front end coding skills, was MySpace layout. So I was that dude. I was really curious in it. I drew a lot when I was younger, and I expressed myself in that way. So I was like, yeah, I'll hop in and do this. And then I learned a little bit of like design, web stuff, and then I started working at a local web design company in my
Right.
town. And that's where I learned more of the coding, how websites all work together. And I was like, I think I can do this on my own. So I was 21, right before I graduated college. I opened up my own design agency in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania.
Cinch.
That's where I grew up,
Yeah.
Cinch Creative Media. And it was right on the main street there. It was me and a few of my college friends.
You had to, and it was clutch that you had an actual spot
Yeah.
in the main street,
Yeah,
right?
and I didn't realize that
a
at the
design
time.
agency, but now you can't even picture who cares where they are essentially,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
unless you're a huge agency or something like that
Right.
needs a brick and mortar in the
Yeah.
main street, but
It
still,
was cool. Yeah, and
that's
it's a
dope.
little small town.
That's dope.
Yeah, and that's where I really got a lot of my chops with the business side of things, going out and getting sales. I had to meet the clients. I had to sell them on what I was creating for them. Then I had to go home and learn it, because a lot of things I'd be like, I think I can do that. So yeah, I just go home and learn it. I was working a ton, and I didn't even realize that at the time, because I feel like I'm kind of an old soul, and with how I grew up, I kind of grew up quick, and I had that independence. So I kind of just felt like an older guy anyway. even at a young age, I was always kind of like the parent feeling in the group.
Yeah.
And it was just really beautiful, because I got to learn so much and realize what I really liked about that. And I really did like the design side. I love the branding side. And I decided at that point after a couple of years of doing that, to work at this startup in New York City called Next Jump. And I was a designer there, working in the city. It was my first, job, and I just got more hooked on the whole startup aspect. That was the first place that I worked at where they did fundraising. They created these products, and it was really cool to see that process. So a buddy of mine was out in LA, and he's like, "Hey, me and a friend we're thinking about doing this startup idea. Do you want to do it with us?" So I was like, "Sure, this sounds great, man." So I was working on it, and I decided to move out. I just quit my job. I had a little bit of money in the bank, packed up my 95 Volkswagen Golf, and did a road trip. It was very, very spontaneous, and I've always kind of been that way.
Yeah.
Like when I get the feeling in my gut, I listen to it.
Yeah.
And I've always
Like
done
buying
that.
this home in Costa Rica.
Yeah, random
During
in,
the pandemic.
in quarantine. Yeah,
Yes.
I was like, I think I want to do this.
I love it.
Just moved out to LA, and that's what kicked off this startup path for me.
What was the startup called?
Well, I came out to LA. We didn't know what it would
Okay.
be.
What was the concept?
It was, like hyper local questions and answers.
Okay.
Kind of like a hyper local Quora or something like
Okay.
that. It wasn't too cool. But what was cool with it, we were just grinding away in this downtown office in LA, like fold up tables, fold up chairs. We had no money. We just had a lot of drive and some talent.
Uh-huh.
And we put up a splash page. It said something's cool is coming to your city. And Hipster was the name that we decided on.
It's a good name.
For some reason, that got a lot of buzz. We had tons of people signing up to our list, because they're like, what is this cool thing? We made it very secretive, and we're strategic about
Yeah.
you don't know what we're building. It's this magic thing. Come check it out soon. And it caught the attention of some investors as well. And we met with them,
We
explained
didn't
our
have a
idea.
product yet.
No.
We're building a product.
Yeah. And sometimes with investors, it can be a little bit of a domino effect. If one person jumps in, other people are more likely to jump in.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in our case. We were able to raise kind of like pre-product at that point. We had a kind of a beta thing. We were at South by, trying to show it off too. We were able to raise about $1 million. I think I was 25 at that time.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. And that was such a cool experience, man, because I come off I started my first business, work at a startup,
Yeah.
do my own startup now, and it was just such a beautiful process to go through. So after that, we moved up to San Francisco, did the whole Silicon Valley thing. We hired a few engineers and built out Hipster. Ended up being a photo sharing app.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was right around the time when Instagram was just taking off.
Yeah. So
We
it was
were
a
kind of in
similar.
that
It was
space.
similar to Instagram.
Yeah,
It
similar.
was a social platform essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had a little office right next to Zendesk and TechCrunch and all those places right there in San Francisco. And we were doing that about a year, and AOL acquired us after 6 months to a year of being live in the store. So it was just all so fast. you know.
I mean, at this point, and this
Yeah.
is like the dream at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we just got acquired by AOL.
Yeah.
And you're probably thinking like,
First startup.
I fucking made it, man. Like, this is it, right? Like,
Yeah,
this equates happiness in a way you might like, knowing probably not real, but.
Yeah, that was a
But at
point in
the
my
time.
life where I really felt vindicated. Maybe that's
Yeah,
the wrong word,
yeah.
but just like
No,
out of struggling so much and coming from.
Yeah.
I was like this poor kind of fat kid in Pennsylvania, low self. I was in a bubble there. It's like a vortex. And
by
then
the way, I
like,
got to see some fat Stefan pictures.
yeah,
It's hard to believe.
I'll show you. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I just never thought I'd even amount to anything really, man. It places this false ceiling when you live in places like that sometimes. And to be out in the mecca where tech is and actually have a thriving hot startup,
That's awesome.
it was so amazing, man.
Yeah.
I was just going along with it, working my butt off along the way for sure,
So you get acquired by OL.
Yeah.
You now have new bosses because you were no longer you, essentially, right?
Yeah. So it was an acqui-hire. They hired our team for the talent. They broke us up, and we were working on different teams there. The corporate world, especially AOL, kind of a dying tech company, it wasn't for me, and I felt more of this startup passion.
Interesting concept
Yeah.
though, because I know you and I have talked about it before, but you get acquired. You're this brand, this baby you're creating for a year plus, and then you go and you're super excited, and all of a sudden it basically dissolves. They dissolve that product, and they just bring you in for your talent. It's super disappointing, I imagine, in a way. I mean, like, cool that they bring you in for the talent, but the baby's gone.
Yeah, it was definitely an experience in that. Of just they often say like what's coming is going, and that's definitely a viewpoint of Buddhism. Nothing's permanent. So it's a big practice in that. It's like you can spend all this time on something and poof, it's gone. And as you and I know, that's the startup world, man.
Yeah.
You put in your heart and soul into something, it just doesn't work. That's
Yeah,
more often than
and-
not.
Absolutely, and even more for you is even in the creative space. That it's something that, one of my close friends, they've done they do a lot of creative builds for events for big brands and things like that. And I remember having great conversations with him and him talking to me and being like, it's a weird feeling. You get to put a bunch of time, energy, and love into creating something really cool for a cool brand, for like Coachella, for example. But then 3 days later, it gets torn down. It's very much that, like, you build this thing, but then it's not permanent, and then it's gone. It's very interesting feeling attachment to that thing.
Yeah. But I think it works well for me though, because I like hopping from thing to thing. That's kind of how my brain works too.
Yeah.
So and I just love the creative aspect, not necessarily the maintenance aspect.
Yeah.
So once that was done, I was like, cool. What's the next thing? Like,
You're gonna have to maintain this home, brother.
Yeah, I know.
Can't just jump away.
I know. I got a dog now
Yeah,
too.
you got a dog.
So.
He'll probably come in the shot at some point. And I'm sure you guys can hear the beautiful birds out here.
Yeah.
So, Steph,
Yes.
there was, after that, you ended up leaving, and then tell us how you got involved with the Honest Company.
Sure.
Well, first, why don't you tell us, some people may not have heard of the Honest Company. So,
Yeah. So the Honest Company is a clean personal care brand. It was started by Jessica Alba back, I think maybe 2012, 13, something like that. So a little bit after the acqui-hire, I came back down to Santa Monica, and my partner in that company got a job as the engineer at the Honest Company. He's like, hey, swing by and let me know what you think. And yeah, we hit it off, and they liked my work, and we're like, yeah, we'd love to bring you on. So I was working there for a little while, and then paused. Actually, I came back a little bit later. I went to a different startup, came back there to build Honest Beauty, and I led the digital launch of that.
Yeah.
It was the whole design of it, the website, the app, which was cool because it had this like real-time augmented reality try-on feature. So Jessica had these different looks, and you can see what that looked like on your face. So put makeup on you. So me and the engineers had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. And that was cool. I was there about a year and a half. And I got to know Jessica really well. We were like cube mates. And
I was going to ask you, what was that like working with Jessica Alba?
it was great, man. I mean, like, she always respected my work and liked my work a lot. And she was always super nice to me. We'd have meetings a lot to talk about Honest Beauty. It was like every other day, you know? So we're just bouncing ideas off one another. And she's very engaged. Really like a good leader on the team.
Good leader, yeah.
She had great ideas in meetings too, like super good ideas. She wasn't afraid to speak her mind. So I learned a lot from her, and just that confidence in the workplace. You know, and like stepping into your truth, owning that. So she was fun to work with.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So the Honest Company, maybe you could say, is your introduction into like conscious business in a way, right? Or a conscious-driven, impact-driven brand. It's all about the ingredients and things like that.
Yeah.
In general, from a perspective of conscious business, how much do you feel that a lot of it can be marketing versus, you know, really like the impact that they're trying to, you know, cause? And it's not necessarily about the Honest Company, but just in general, right? And then at the end, does it really matter as long as the impact is real?
Yeah.
If they're doing it for their marketing or not, you know?
Yeah. You know, it can be a mix.
Yeah.
You know, Honest is really good about trying really hard to make their products as effective and clean as possible. Because sometimes when you use the natural ingredients, they're not as effective.
Correct.
So there's a fine balance there. But they did work really hard for that. I feel there is a lot of greenwashing that goes on. Where it is just smoke and mirrors. I would say the best way to really know if a company is legit or not, as far as how clean they are, is just look at their ingredient list.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this site, Skin Deep.
Yeah.
That gives you a whole readout of how toxic is this.
Yeah,
and
you can
things
look at
like
each
that.
and every ingredient. Yeah.
Just look at the ingredient list, and you really know. Because if there's a few red flags there, it's like, all right, this company's not what they say they are.
Yeah, and then it's.
But if it's a clean 5-ingredient list, you're like, okay, you know, if they use organic, even better.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then I've got here, and this is Openly Human, natural deodorant spray. And I feel like I saw almost every step of this process.
Yeah.
Because we were, at this point, this is after you left the Honest Company. And
yes, sir.
So tell us about this pretty beautiful and awesome product that you created.
For sure. I'll give a little bit of backstory of how I got there. As you mentioned, I was at the I was at the Honest Company, and I got exposed to the personal care world, and I just saw how toxic it really was. That was a big part of their marketing and their thing was we're a lot cleaner. Look how bad this stuff can be for you. So when I left there, I just had a lot of energy to do my startup thing. So I actually went into tinctures. I partnered with an alchemist, this guy Phoenix, amazing smart dude. He was my greatest teacher at that time in my life. He was a legit alchemist.
With that name.
Yeah.
You can't have that name and not be legit.
Yeah, and alchemy is really the transformation of something. In this case, it was plant materials into a tincture.
Yep.
But it's a really beautiful practice. It's very time consuming. It's a very high vibe way to make tinctures. We actually made spagyrics, which is a special type of tincture, where we add the plant back to the tincture after it's done. We burn it down. So it's zero waste, really cool stuff. We were up in Portland doing that for about a year. And we had a lab set up. I lived upstairs. We did, he did workshops of alchemy and making tinctures and working with herbs. And we made a line of tinctures that were incredibly efficacious, amazing blends. Stuff like Dreamcatcher was for your dreams. We had Flow for focus, Spark for energy. And they all mushroom and herb infused, a lot of Ayurvedic herbs, adaptogenic herbs, and mushrooms in those blends. And that gave me a lot of knowledge and respect even further for the plants. And at that time, I started doing ayahuasca and plant medicine, having a practice around that. So yeah, it just was all leading me down this way. I think the ayahuasca was talking through me. It's like, go to the plants. I became vegan at that time and had a whole plant-based diet. So that gave me a lot of the background of the plants and what these things do and how to make them, and a little bit of the manufacturing.
Yeah.
Both doing it at home and working with manufacturers. So that led me to believe the tinctures were a little heady, I think, for most people.
Yeah.
Like if I say spagyric tincture, you're like,
what the heck?
What is that?
Yeah. Hey.
So I decided to make a product, still the same high vibe, still really good ingredients, but what's something that everyone is familiar with?
Yeah.
And what's something that's ritualistic, something they could use every day. because that makes for
Yeah.
a good business model because people will always come back.
Yeah.
But it's also a big way to make impact because it's something they go to every day.
And deodorant's a very dirty industry, right?
Hey guys, I just want to remind you, if you want to find more content like this, you can visit sebastiannaum.com. That's Sebastian, Naum.com. You can also get a ton of other marketing resources from myself and my agencies, ranging from SEO to social media, influencer marketing, branding, web development, and more. Again, that's sebastiannaum.com. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the show.
It's very dirty. A lot of the fragrance space is really dirty. And just how dirty it is, it's pretty sinister. And their ingredients, they can just put fragrance.
Yeah.
And they don't legally have to say what that is because it's their IP.
Correct.
Intellectual property, and that's where they put all the toxins. That's where they put all the carcinogens.
Yeah.
So they're not even listing their full ingredients. So whenever you see fragrance, go away from that product.
How hard, I mean, I only got one side. I gotta get the other side. It smells so good, by the way. I love this.
Thank
How
you.
hard is it to source clean ingredients? Because, like, why isn't everyone else sourcing clean ingredients? Why is most of the stuff we consume, just shitty stuff? Things that are bad for our bodies, bad for our health. Why doesn't everyone do it?
I think manufacturing, it's expensive.
It's expensive.
Yeah, a lot of the manufacturers are set up to make things cheaply and use cheap ingredients, and they're not really incentivized to go more organic or source more organic because their customers aren't asking for it a lot.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably the most inhibitive thing is just
Yeah.
cost on
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
It is.
I feel like, I don't know, we're seeing a new wave of conscious businesses,
Yeah.
and we're seeing people more and more, involved in caring into what they consume and what
Yeah.
they put on their bodies, and hopefully that's a changing, it's a change of the guard in a way
Yeah.
from, the old capitalism into conscious capitalism, into
For
brands
sure.
with conscious ingredients.
Yeah.
And, I don't have all the answers for that, but I feel that although some things may be more expensive on the outside, I think there's always ways to move things around and shift things around, and how maybe they're more expensive, but that's also providing other jobs for other people that wouldn't normally have those jobs, right? It's like a cycle that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and in Openly Human's case, just back to your previous question of like, why don't we have more clean stuff? It's also harder to come up with the formulas because a lot of these fake things they use help it bind better, they help it congeal, or they help it look a certain way. Yeah. Even other deodorants like Axe, for example, their first ingredient's butane in their spray deodorant, it gives people burns. And they only add butane to push it out of the can. It's just for aerosol. It's not even part of the formula.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a little bit harder.
You sold it, by the way.
Yeah.
Openly Human. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Epic.
Yeah.
Great feeling to sell something that you've been involved with from the ground up, and you did it with conscious ingredients. Something you put your heart, behind, and something you stand for, right? Love it when you can really just use your own product. And you're like, I love this. You know what I mean? That's cool. And then, so we're in Costa Rica. You work at a place called Rythmia.
Yeah.
Kind of full circle back to the, plant medicine that we were talking about earlier. That's why, Ayahuasca Wednesdays is at Rythmia. So tell us a little bit about Rythmia.
Sure. Rythmia is a plant medicine center in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, which is one of the 5 blue zones in the world. And
What's a blue zone?
A blue zone is a place where people live longer, healthier lives. There's a lot less mental illness, a lot less cancers, things like that. And there's a lot of people who live to be over 100 here.
Wow.
So it's a very healing place. Rythmia is a very healing, transformative place. It combines ancient wisdom with modern healing modalities. So in addition to the plant medicine, you're able to integrate throughout the week with workshops from top thought leaders like Michael Beckwith, Greg Braden, amazing people that come in through there. You also have breath work, yoga, amazing food, and it's all in a luxury setting. So you don't have to, but previously you'd have to go out into the jungle and trek miles and have mosquitoes and bugs and drink medicine, and be on your own. Now you can do it in like a luxurious place here that is you still go just as deep, it's just as healing. And I really see the transformation of people that come through at the beginning of the week to the end of the week. They're different people. They're reborn.
What's the mission? What is the mission of Rythmia?
Yeah, the Mission of Rhythmia, high level, like when I talk to Jerry, the founder over there, we're good friends. He always says, like, we're changing the world by changing people's minds.
Okay.
And that's high level what's happening, because what ayahuasca does, it helps change your mind. It helps change your perspective on things, the story you tell yourselves, because we are our stories. And once you change that story in someone, then they start changing the world, because they start acting out this newfound perspective.
Yeah. What kind of people do you have that come in with what kind of stories? And what kind of stories do they leave with?
All kinds. There's all walks of life, man. We have people from all over the globe: England, Russia, Costa Rica, North America, Canada, and all ages. I think we've had people like 18 to 80 something.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's for everyone. Families come down and do it together.
Really?
Yeah, couples come down and do it together. And it's anything and everything. People struggling with drug addictions. Struggling with suicide maybe, or just having dark thoughts, depression.
You probably have millionaires coming in that just are struggling with finding meaning or purpose, right?
Exactly. There's lots of really financially successful people that come in just super unhappy.
Yeah.
And realizing money's not the answer. What can I do to really change my life? So it's a mix. It is a little bit pricier than other centers. So the demographic tends to skew that way a little bit. And I really love that approach, actually, to being a center for people's first step into plant medicine. Because getting those types of people down here, those are the movers and shakers in the world. They're the ones who have businesses. They're the ones who can really make a change as long as they get their story right.
Yeah.
And this helps them get their story right. And then they go out there and start making changes. And we hear that all the time, that these previously, just like the founder over there, they had these non-intentional businesses, like just to make money, manipulative, not really heart-centered. And now they're inspired, and I see the changes they're making in their own companies to be more conscious and to lead with your heart and give to charities and set up certain programs at their job to give back. So it's so beautiful to see that feedback loop.
Yeah.
Someone comes in thinking a certain way, doing a certain type of business, and they come out being a conscious leader.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. How important do you find conscious business to be in playing a role in the advancement of humanity and the improvement of our ecosystems?
I think every business is going to have to go that route.
Yeah.
Every business. It's the only way to make the earth sustainable for all the people that are peopling here on earth. We're just going to have to get to that point. I really do feel like water is going to become a scarce resource, and climate change is very real, and that's happening rapidly. So I think we're going to be forced into it, and we're going to be forced into lifestyle changes, which I'll happily accept. It's just like minimalizing, making things cleaner, having them be more heart-centered. I really feel like that is our purpose here on Earth, is to expand, grow, and learn whatever our consciousness, our soul needs to learn here. And conscious businesses and leaderships
as humanity. As
humanity, yeah. And it helps us fulfill that purpose. And I feel that's what we're all going towards as a species. And that's what the medicine is teaching me. That's what I feel like I'm seeing. And there's this interesting Kardashev scale. I'm really into futurism, cosmology, things like that. So the Kardashev scale is the evolution of societies, civilizations, from 0 to 4. And it's based on how much energy they can harness. So at 0, we just have us. Or we might have some horses, as we're going towards 1. Once we're at 1, we can harness the power of the atom. So nuclear fission.
Okay.
Once we go to 2, we can harness the power of the sun, fusion. And now that's the power of the solar system. And then once we're at 3, we're interstellar. You can travel different stars, and at level 4, you can travel different universes. There's nothing that can hold you here. So that's like a futurist scale of where civilizations go towards. And we're right at the point, I believe we're at, Michio Kaku says we're at like a 0.7, 0.8, which is the most volatile time in civilization, because we now have access to the atom and its power to destroy ourselves, which is something that should be really, taken lightly, being careful with it, you know,
Yeah.
in the right hands. If it gets in the wrong hands, it could be a bad thing. But we also have these primal minds. We still have these kind of Neanderthal-like thoughts, these primal thoughts. Like our consciousness hasn't really ascended so much yet. So we're at a point where we could either obliterate ourselves, or we can transcend, we can get past that and evolve as a species to type 1, where we really become more of a hive mind, a global community, with all the same goal of just expanding consciousness.
Do we see that in our lifetime?
I don't think in our lifetime. And again, a lot of stuff I reference, I love Michio Kaku. I would check him out. He's an amazing speaker, really funny guy. So a lot of this is, you know, stuff I've read from his books. I think he says about 100 years he's thinking.
Okay.
And we'll see. Are we going to kill ourselves, or are we going to prosper?
Yeah. And to tie that back to what, you know, why that came up, talking about conscious business and that being part of what can help us evolve as humanity, definitely, I think it, like you said, it has to go that way for just about every business.
Yeah.
For us to really be able to survive, I think, as a species. I think all of capitalism has to be conscious capitalism.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just greed, and greed has gotten us to so many horrible places.
Exactly.
You know,
you look at big pharmaceuticals, science; those inherently are really good.
Of course.
It's just how we have carried them out.
Through greed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's using them in the wrong way.
Yeah.
But using the right way, massively beneficial.
Yeah. What instrument do we have back here, Steph?
Yeah, this is the spaceship.
The
You guys
spaceship.
are wondering. It looks like a spaceship. It's actually a handpan. Originally called the hang drum. It's from Scandinavia.
Nice.
And it's a fairly new instrument. It was created in the year 2000. There's a lot of makers who kind of make their own thing. I got this from this amazing maker in downtown LA, Hamsa Handpans. Go check them out. And oh man, I play this in ceremony. Something about the tone and the resonance of it is just very healing.
Yeah,
very
that's
healing.
awesome.
That's part of my healing with music too, is I treat it as therapy for myself.
Yeah.
But I'm also learning a fun skill at the same time. And this one in here, I could just zone out for hours and play. I'll probably play a little bit towards the end.
Yeah, we're going to close out with a little bit of that. But before that, you're clearly a conscious leader. I've always seen you that way.
Thank you.
I know you are that way. You embody it. You carry it out.
I feel the same about you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Seb he's always positive, like optimistic, and just always a fun guy to be around.
You know,
like when you're in the room, you're just like, all right,
thank you.
I'm happy now.
I haven't had very many plugs for myself and my own podcast. So I appreciate that. No, I know you mean that. I mean, but you know, I really mean that about you. What do you feel are two of the most important traits that a conscious leader must embody today?
With every action that you do, looking at it, is this coming from a place of love? Is this something coming from my higher self, or that my higher self would do? So just keeping yourself firmly rooted in that mindset really changes everything for you. And you realize how many things you might do that aren't love, that aren't coming from that place of love, or aren't coming from your higher self. And it can be frustrating because you're like, man, I have a lot of work to do. That's the space I get into a lot. I'm like,
so you do that when you're doing things, you check yourself.
Yeah, I check myself in my head, and this is a lesson from the medicine. It's like, is this coming from love? And if it's not,
something's got to change.
Something's got to change, And Ram Dass, who's also a great spiritual leader, he has this song, this mantra that he uses called, I am loving awareness. And I listen to that a lot. I listen to a lot of his talks.
I've heard it,
And just always be in this state, this presence of loving awareness. Like everything around you is love. You are aware that it's love. You are loved yourself.
The awareness is key.
The awareness is key,
It's interesting. It's tough.
But I would say, like always checking yourself, is this coming from a place of love?
Okay. So that was number one.
Number two is listen. Listen to your intuition. Because it's very powerful. It always guides us in the right direction. And just become a good listener of yourself.
Yeah. So I want to speak to that a little bit, because something that's been coming through for me a lot over the last couple of years is listening to my intuition. But I've always been an intuitive person, but I'm not sure I was really figuring out when I'm actually listening to my intuition, or when it's just sometimes it's hard to figure out. Is this intuition? This is my brain? And one thing that I started learning over the last couple of years is that my body my actual physical body
Yes.
is actually channeling intuition,
Yeah.
and I'm feeling it constricting
Exactly.
versus opening, and and that could be a lot of the times. It could be that could be what anxiety and fear can do for people. Like there's a purpose for anxiety and fear. It's supposed to inform you, right? Obviously, if you have anxiety and fear constantly all the time, there's something else going on, and it's probably also trying to inform you about something else going on in your brain and in your emotions and things like that. But intuition, I think, has been big for me, discovering a different way to understanding what the intuition is. Do you have a way that you know when something is intuition versus your brain, rationale maybe?
Yeah, it's usually the first thought, the first feeling you get from it. Yeah, and sometimes it can be a physical reaction. You're just like, I don't know if you've ever been in a room with a certain type of energy, or that you just are like repelled by it. You're like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah,
and it's instant. Right away. So I would say that's it right there. At least for me, it's just like that first, before you even think about it, because really our thoughts can be dangerous. Our thoughts are what causes the fear. You go and do something that's not inherently fearful. It's just we think it might be. That causes the fear. It's the thoughts. So before those thoughts even have a chance to enter, you get a feeling in your body, and just like try to listen to that and hone in on that.
Yeah.
And have a practice of like when you go to certain places, you do certain work. You might have a new client coming on, just be like, what was that gut reaction I got from this guy?
Yeah.
And that's usually the correct one.
Yeah, well, those are two great traits. Operating through and out of love always, and then listening to your intuition. So, spoken as a true conscious leader. So,
thanks, brother.
Steph, man, thanks for being on, brother. You're truly such a conscious leader, and
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on,
Yeah, man. Keep doing you.
It's been fun.
But, if you're watching or listening, we're not done, because Steph's going to play a little bit of a space drum.
And I did want to plug my music. I have a Spotify account, and my artist name, Amor Mia Fati. I just do it for fun. It's a passion of mine, but it's there. So if you guys want to listen.
Please, say that again. We're going to have it in the links.
Yeah, we'll have it in the links.
We're going to have it in the links.
Amor Mia Fati.
Amor Mia Fati.
Yeah, Amor Fati was actually coined by Nietzsche, and it means like love your fate. Love what's given to you, no matter what it is, what path you go on, just love it. So I added the Mia, which is like makes it possessive, like me. So it's like loving my fate. Because that's the vibe I was in. I was like, all right, I'm really trying to be in this, on this path. So
yeah, love it. Thanks again, Steph. You are the man, my bro. Yeah.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. It takes a lot to put these things together, but I truly love doing it. If you enjoyed this episode or the show in general, and you listen to it on audio podcast, please take some time to give it a review. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you watch the video, please go ahead and just click subscribe and share it with somebody that you think would like it. It would really mean the world to me, and it helps keep the show alive. Visit SebastianNaum.com for more content, and follow me on Instagram at SebNaum. That's SEBNAUM. Thanks again for spending your time with me. I know it is valuable. I hope you have a great rest of the day and week. Till next time.